him that he's worthy of love.
while also respecting his need to process the breakup.
It's like a perfect example of male vulnerability and emotional support.
It really is.
It's funny how Rodney's story kind of contrasts with Bailey's.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, Rodney learned from causing heartbreak, right? But Bailey, he's got this like proactive approach to love.
Yeah. His cheat code. Give what you lack.
Exactly. What do you think about that?
It's interesting. Do you think he's saying, like, we should try to fill the gaps in ourselves by giving to others?
Maybe. It's like recognizing what you need and then like actively trying to provide that for someone else. Almost like, a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing.
I see what you mean. So by giving the type of love we want, we're kind of inviting others to do the same.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And it ties into what Korea was saying earlier, too, about love being reciprocal.
Totally.
We tend to give love in the way we want to receive it.
Right, right. It all connects.
Speaking of Korea, his perspective on love is honestly what really stood out to me.
Totally agree. Like his whole governing force idea.
Right. It really stuck with me, too.
Like he's not just talking about a feeling,
Yeah.
but a guiding principle.
Yeah, it influences how we interact with everyone, not just romantic partners.
Even in moments of grief, he sees love as the driving force behind compassion and support.
So powerful. It really makes you think about how we show up in the world, doesn't it?
It does. Like, are we acting out of love, or are we letting fear and anger guide us?
Big question.
Huge. Almost makes you think about, like, what if the world operated that way? Where every decision was filtered through the lens of love.
I know, right? Kind of utopian.
But could it actually work?
Yeah.
Like, is that even achievable?
I mean, that's a question for each of us to figure out, I think. But at least Korea gives us a framework for striving towards that ideal.
He does. Makes you wonder, maybe finding the perfect partner isn't the key. Maybe it's about becoming a more loving person ourselves.
That's a really good point. It challenges that whole traditional narrative of romantic love.
Like maybe true fulfillment comes from cultivating love as a way of being.
Not just a destination.
Exactly. So for you listening, I want to know what resonates with you. We've heard 5 very different perspectives on love and relationships.
What challenges your existing beliefs? Have you encountered any of those governing forces in your own life?
Have you felt the need to surrender certain fears?
Or maybe you're holding back from giving the kind of love you actually crave.
It's all worth thinking about. And remember, these are just 5 perspectives out of millions. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to love.
The beauty is in the diversity, the journey of figuring out what love means to you.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
This roundtable was especially interesting because it was all Black men, openly sharing their thoughts and feelings about love.
So true. And while their experiences are unique to their cultural context, the themes they explore, like connection, commitment, searching for meaning, those are universal.
Absolutely. We're all connected by this desire for love and belonging.
And that connection makes these conversations so valuable.
It helps us feel less alone,
Like we can see ourselves in their stories.
and maybe gain some new insights along the way
Insights that can help us navigate the complexities of love.
in a more skillful way.
So before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something we were talking about earlier, about societal pressures and how they kind of like shape our expectations in love. Anytime he felt that financial stability was a big thing for women his age. But Bailey had a totally different take. So do you think those views are just personal? Or is there like a larger cultural conversation we need to be having about how we define success and its role in relationships,
Oh, for sure. It's both. We all bring our own experiences and values to the table, but those are shaped by like the messages we get from society. The whole idea that financial stability equals success, that's like so deeply ingrained. It's bound to influence our romantic expectations too.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then how do we untangle those societal expectations from our like genuine desires? If we're drawn to someone who has those markers of success, like wealth or status, how can we be sure it's not just like societal programming at play?
It's tough, right? It takes a lot of introspection and being self-aware and maybe like a willingness to challenge those beliefs. Like Korea's story, his wife chose him for his character, his commitment, not for his bank account. And their love has thrived.
It's true. It's a good example of how love can like defy those expectations.
Yeah, it reminds us to look beyond the superficial stuff and focus on the qualities that actually matter. Kindness, resilience, shared values. Those are the things that build a strong foundation.
No matter what's going on externally.
Exactly. And it brings us back to love as that governing force. If we let love guide us instead of those pressures or anxieties, we might find ourselves on a totally different path.
One that leads to genuine connection.
Exactly.
One last thing before we go. Something Rodney said really stuck with me. He talked about surrendering his fears to a higher power. Now, whether or not you're, like, spiritually inclined, I think there's a lesson there for everyone. What if, instead of letting our fears control our choices in love, we surrendered them to something bigger than ourselves? Whether it's faith, personal growth, or just a belief in the power of love itself.
Yeah, it's like a reframing. By letting go of that fear, we open ourselves up to new possibilities
Exactly. We create space for love to come in.
in ways we might not expect.
So as you continue on your own journey with love, remember these guys. Their honesty, their willingness to be vulnerable,
Let their stories inspire you,
to be more open, more honest, more willing to embrace the messiness of it all.
because that's where the real beauty lies.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. If you want to hear more from Rodney, Anytime, Bailey, Korea, and Miles, check out the full YouTube video on the Black Love channel. It's called Love S2E3 Men's Roundtable, a Black Love series. And until next time, keep diving deep.